What is up? What is up? We are so excited to be back for the Big Star Show. It's always great when me and my guy Big Game James get together and talk Cowboys football. How you doing, Big?
I'm doing good. Besides always these technical difficulties with this damn computer. Every time we want to go live and do something, this thing always want to take forever to load. Want to work on different devices. I'm like, man, y'all fools tripping, but you ain't stopping it. It still came through. We still making it, and we still doing it. But I'm here. How you doing? I'm doing good.
That's right. That's right. They're trying to. I don't know who our ops is. The ops trying to stop us, but we still going. You know what I'm saying? We still here. So, I'm feeling good. But y'all know, when y'all come in, please like the video. Please like the content on both of our channels. Mine, Stargazer Sports. Big is, I think, just Big Game James. So y'all please follow us on both of our YouTube channels. Please follow us, subscribe, like, and also share the video because that's how our content's gonna get in front of more people. If you share and also if you like the video, because that puts our content out into the algorithm. But anyway, we're gonna hop straight into the content because we gotta do like a quick show for y'all because we're gonna be in and out in 30 minutes. But there are some topics that we kind of wanted to hit. Because obviously y'all know we're kind of in that dead period before camp. We just finished last week mini camp. But there are still some questions that I would say that is surrounding our team. And so we kind of wanted to talk about those questions and, kind of give our thoughts about what we think heading into camp and, kind of maybe some of our expectations, talking about the roster and things like that. But I think it'd be good to start off with our first question, which is, does Shotty have a grace period? Does Shotty have a grace period? When we say that, now y'all gotta be who our viewers who's watching, y'all gotta come with a little bit of knowledge. If y'all following us, y'all should know who your front office is. If not, just go back and watch videos. You'll find out. But our front office has a history. Jerry Jones, Steven, they have a history of meddling. And when we say meddling, that means that they basically want to act like de facto coaches or like pseudo coaches, where they're the owners, but they're in player personnel meetings. They're in game plan meetings. They're pushing. They like to push coaches to play certain players. If we're paying them this money or if we drafted them here, we want them to be on the field. So it's those types of things. And so, when we ask the question, does Shotty have a grace period? We're asking what basically does Shotty have to accomplish in year one in order for the Joneses to continue to allow him to do what he's doing right now, which right now we see that they're empowering him. We haven't seen the Joneses in front of a camera, especially not Jerry since, I can't even, the fact that I cannot think the last time we heard from Jerry should show you. Like Shotty, they're allowing Shotty to be the face, right now. Allowing only him talk, only him in the press conferences, no side interviews. I think Steven did a side interview, but it was real, just cool, nothing crazy. Like it's just basically like they're trying to create this synergy or they're trying to create everybody being on the same page. They go out and they get him a George Pickens. You know what I'm saying? And we hear from Will McClay that it was Shotty and Jerry who were pushing to get Pickens. So when you hear these things, you feel like, okay, y'all are empowering him. Y'all are believing in him. But we're like, but for how long? For how long? So what do you think about that, B?
I mean, I think the Joneses are going to be the Joneses. They're going to always have their hands in everything. It's their organization. It's their family. They're always going to have their hands in everything. That's just the way it is. So I don't think they're not going to not ever meddle. That's the way it is. But I feel like they like him. They really like him. But obviously wins. So I think the first season, I think you have a 9-win season, maybe a 10-win season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really think this team should get to the playoffs. I don't care what people are saying. This team is talented enough to get to playoffs. You have enough talent. You got that, especially if everybody's relatively healthy. I think you can get to the playoffs with this team. Um, I think to me, it's a 2 year thing. And for me, it's 2 years. I don't know if they're going to look at it 2 years. They gave him a 4 year deal. When you look at Jason Garrett, he was there for what, 6? Well, no, he was there 10 years, but he got 2 deals. But remember, his first 3 years, he didn't make the playoffs. His fourth year is when he made the playoffs, and that's when he got his deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if they give him that kind of grace because Garrett was at the playoffs. We were right for the playoffs at the last game of the year, and they just lost, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's why they gave him grace. And with McCarthy, I don't feel like the grace was as much because he's a veteran coach. They wanted him to hit the ground running. You know what I mean? And he did. So I think with Shotty, I think 2 years they'll be looking at the 2 year period and seeing how's it going, how's it looking, are you winning, how we functioning as the team, is the team feeling this? I think that the 2 year thing is for me because, you know, um, even with Dak, in my opinion, if you go 2 years and it's still kind of the same thing, I think you start should be looking at other things, and
Yep.
we'll see what happens with Shotty. But I think 2 years for me is what you should be understanding. Is this the guy for the future in all aspects, coach and quarterback, in my opinion?
You know what, Big? I think you're probably surprised, but I think I agree with that. I think that Dak, I do think that Dak and Shotty's fate are tied together. And I think that this is, if Dak, this is my opinion, if Dak does not win a Super Bowl with Shotty, I believe both parties at the end of that contract are going to mutually walk away. I think Dak is going to say, you know what, we did the best that we could. It just didn't work out. Sometimes it's not, shit just don't work out. You know what I'm saying? It's not, and it's not Dak's fault. We know all the things that have happened where Dak was here. That, like, it wasn't necessarily Romo's fault. When you think of that 2014 game, Romo should have had at least an NFC Championship appearance. At least, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Dak the same. Like, they have opportunities, but sometimes the football guys is just like, no. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe that if Dak um and Shotty cannot make this thing work, that the Joneses will walk away, and then they will then, this is gonna be a full rebuild. Is how I feel. And I think everybody at that point in the next 3 to 4 years, y'all don't be surprised if our team look totally different, especially if we don't get a Super Bowl. I can see the Joneses start, moving some pieces or players just wanting out. You know what I'm saying? I don't see, like, you look at our young generals and Micah and CD. I just don't see them stay. Micah already said, "Listen, I want a Super Bowl by 30. If I don't get a Super Bowl by 30, I'm gonna head to another team so I can get one." Now I know a lot of that pissed a lot of people off, but these players aren't trying to waste their careers here. We have, unfortunately, in Cowboys land. When I say waste, it doesn't mean that we haven't had great Pro Bowl, All Pro players. That's not what I'm saying. But everybody knows you play the game to win a championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to win a championship. So I'm saying that the Joneses have wasted, quote unquote, a lot of careers. And I think these young players, they just don't, they love this team. They don't have that same allegiance. You know what I'm saying? Like, CD is not dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, CD will be out of here. He'd be like, Kyler, where you playing at? Baker, where you playing at? Like, let me go over here. Like, I'm serious. I think Michael the same way. Let me see if I can join Miles. Let me see if I can join this person. Like, they want to be here, but they want to win a championship, and they're just not gonna stay here forever. Like that. He said, "I'll stay here forever." You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure he's gonna leave. He'll leave and he'll go somewhere like Peyton and Aaron and Brady. They'll go somewhere for a couple more years, but after that, dog, it's time to retire. It's about time to hang it up. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that Shotty. I don't believe that some people saying I'm talking about Super Bowl or NFC Championship or bust. If that's what Jerry and them doing, then I don't. I mean, to me, that's not real. That's not really realistic. Now, I know we look across the street, we're like, well, Dan Quinn did it, which I get, but we have to remember as well, Dan Quinn been to a Super Bowl before as a head coach, so it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he went to a Super Bowl too and won a Super Bowl as the coordinator, so it's a little bit different. Now, Shotty's been a coach for 15 years, but he ain't never been a head coach before. So we believe in Shotty, but Shotty's still gonna have to have a learning curve and all of that type of stuff. It's just normal. So I'm with you, Big. I believe the goal this year should be playoffs, and then we just get to the playoffs and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I do think that our team is talented enough to get to the playoffs. How is
I think it's a disappointment if we don't get to the playoffs this year. I know they were talking about 7 wins and things like that. I don't believe so. Not if we're fully healthy. Dallas hasn't. Now I'm not gonna believe that. When you added Pickens as the second receiver,
Yep.
that added wins. I don't give.
Yep.
That added a few wins. So
Yep.
you talking about that offense? It's explosive now. No matter what you're talking about, in a healthy Dak and CD, you saw what that can do. When you saw what Pickens can do with average quarterbacks. So to tell me that this offense is not going to be explosive, I just don't believe that.
Right.
And then I feel like this defense is going to be better than some people think. Just because you got a lot of edges, you got a lot of speed, and I feel like Eberflus is going to keep the scheme simple, so they can just attack and not have to think all the time. And that's where Dallas is really good at, when they can just really attack you and just everybody flow to the ball. So I feel like they should be right back in the mix of things. That when you look at the NFC, it's not incomparable. It's not besides Philly, and it's not like Philly can't be beat. Dallas has So it's not like there's no teams in the NFC where you're like, oh my God, this is the dominant team, and nobody's beating them, and they're head and shoulders. Like, nobody's looking at Philadelphia like, oh, they're going to repeat. No, they're saying, oh, they're going to have a tough way to repeat because it's going to be a harder way to go. That's what they're saying. They're not saying they're automatic champions. So Dallas has every chance as anybody else as the top NFC team. So it's a disappointment if the Cowboys don't make the playoffs. To me, that's a disappointment.
I agree with that. I think that we should at least be a playoff team. Like you said, when you look at the NFC landscape, it's not big. We spoke about this 2 years ago. I still do the same. Like, it's not no juggernaut over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, the NFC is anybody's for the taking. I know Philly won it last year, but ain't nobody scared of Philly. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's scared of Philly. I'm not scared of the Lions, or the Packers or any of these other teams. Not saying they're not good, and some of them teams kick our ass. So I'm not saying I don't respect them, but I'm saying that I don't think that there's any team right now that's like, we control the NFC. You gotta run through us like a Kansas City. I don't see that over here on this side. But since for sake of time, we're gonna move to the next question. I think should be answered. And, all right, where we at? Oh, here we go. Okay. And so, also, another question is, are the Cowboys done making moves? So, we know, of course, we got George Pickens, blockbuster trade, right? So, we got George Pickens, but, there's still some holes that I would say that there's on our roster. And, we kind of talked about this yesterday, on my show with my co-host Mickey. We talked, and Lou was our special guest. Shout out to both of them. And we had talked about, basically, like, what are these holes that still need to be filled? And we also talked about, when you talk about Eberflus, I'm kind of wondering because what we did yesterday is we did sign 2 people. We signed Robert Rochelle, I believe, who's a former Packer, and then we signed Perrion Winfrey, who was all UFL team, and I think he led the league in tackles or something. Or he was one of the best defensive tackles in the UFL. So we got him. I believe he wasn't out of the league for talent. I think he did something off the field, like something like that. Yeah, it got him cut. So, but when I look at Perrion Winfrey, that's the 3 tech. I feel like we we have plenty of three techs. I mean, you got Osa, you got Osa, you got Solomon Thomas, you got who else are we talking about? I think you got Denzel Jackson also behind them. I'm trying to think. There's some other DTs, but those two prominent. You have a starter, you have a very for sure backup. Now you add Perrion Winfrey that you can add to that rotation. Now it could be that Eberflus is maybe considering using these guys as like a hybrid, but right now you only have Mozzie and Jay as what you consider one pick because they cut Justin Rogers. And so y'all know Justin Rogers, he was our 7th round pick last year. We cut him. He went to the Bengals. He was cut. Then we brought him back. And then now he's cut again. So it is making me question, like, does Flus's scheme not necessarily need or want a bigger 3 tech because you have Mozzie, who's probably at like 320. I don't know how much Mozzie is, but I hope Mozzie's above 300. But it's like, who are you going to have behind him? Because there was the words you said, Big, when you talked about attacking. Our defense is best when they don't really got to think that much. They can be an attack front, which that's what we are now. We are an attack. But when you're an attack, all go out front, guess what? You're going to have rotations. That's the same thing with Dan Quinn. Like, you want a front that's going to constantly be attacking in the field, you have to have rotations. So right now, I'm like, who is the one tech that is going to rise above, rise and sit behind Mozzie? Big, you and I both talked about Jay Toia. I really like Jay Toia. I did a breakdown on him. You talked about him. But is Jay Toia, let's be realistic here, it usually takes 2 to 3 years for really 3 years for a D tackle to really come on. So we've got to ask ourselves, do the Cowboys need to make another significant move? Because let's be honest, Robert Rochelle and Perrion Winfrey got glad for them, but that's not no big moves. Do you think that there's another big move, like maybe not as big as Pickens, but get another player of some stature in here? You don't think so? You don't think they're gonna do it?
No. Who's out there? Like, if we're talking about defensive tackles, who's out there, and what significant person out there defensively, as far as the defensive tackle position that we're talking about, is going to be out there that they're going to cut? That's going to be really good. That's going to come in and help the team. They're not going to cut somebody who's really good and he's going to come in and magically help Dallas. That's just not real. All that got swallowed up early in free agency. Now you're just going to look at kind of like players that can kind of fill the roster. When I'm looking at Justin Rogers, he just must not be. I'll agree with you with where he must not fit the scheme as far as what they're trying to do, and he just must not be good enough because they already cut you once, and then you went to the Bengals. You didn't do anything over there, and you came back over here and they cut you again. So you just must not be the player. So I have to just look at that. You're just not the player. You went. There's a reason why these guys go in the 6th and 7th and 8th round. I mean, and get undrafted. There's a reason why. I mean, nobody was looking at him. I wasn't when they picked him up. Like, ooh, Justin Rogers. I never thought about him. I was like, why did you waste that pick on him? He's not gonna play. That's my thought. And guess what? He got cut, so he's still not here. I think they really like Jay because his hustle, and I believe the way he played at UCLA in that defense, he can trail down the line of scrimmage. That's not his forte, but I believe he can do it because of his technique. Mozzie's really got to step up for real because the way you're looking at this defense, even with Marinelli, it was that 4-3 base, and it was that front 7. And when that front 7 has to really attack, so those guys really have to hit those gaps. They have to be, technique sound. They have to be sound as far as their, where they're going and what they're doing. But it's attacking. And what you have with that's why I feel like they got the Perrion Winfrey, because when you looked at Perrion Winfrey, I liked him when he was coming out of Oklahoma. I think I mocked him a couple times coming out because I liked him coming out of college, and he had a really good Senior Bowl. He turned up in that Senior Bowl. And like you said, he had gotten into some trouble over at Cleveland because, they picked him up and he was getting some time, but he got some trouble over there and they let him go. And I think maybe that thing kind of carried with him because he went over to USFL and whatever and turned up. So It's not like he was a USFL player the whole time, and now he's trying to
Right.
get trying to get some NFL work. No, he was an NFL player, made some mistakes, and now you kind of got to go there to reprove yourself to get back into the league. So
Right.
I don't think that's a bad pickup, because I feel like what they're trying to do, I feel like he fits what they're trying to do. Yes, we still need that big one tech, but I think maybe, honestly, I think two players that are going to be on the horizon, I feel like are coming back. I feel like they'll reach out to Linville Joseph again because he didn't play bad at the end of the year. He
Yep.
didn't play bad, and he's a space eater, and he's a veteran, and that he understands what they need to do. And I
Yep.
also feel that the reason why they didn't go after Jair Alexander, and I feel like Alexander maybe said, I'm gonna make you pay more if I'm coming here, but if I go to Ravens, I'll take a little pay cut because Ravens are good. You know what I'm saying? They have a chance, so
Exactly.
I'll take a pay cut. You feel me? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Stephon Gilmore is coming back. I feel
You feel
if it's not him, because I think they are. When I talked to Mike Fisher, that they are looking at Asante Samuel, but they're really looking at that neck to see how good it really is.
yeah.
If that neck is not good, I feel like they reach out to Gilmore again. Why not? He's not going to cost no money. He knows the program. He didn't have a bad year at Minnesota. So you got those guys. I feel like those guys will come back in the fold. But when they're talking about the trading for Breece Hall and all that stuff, that ain't happening. If it does, let me see. Because I don't believe Dallas is trading for a running back. They're not trading picks for any running back when they drafted Jaden Blue. Y'all know the Cowboys. Y'all know the Cowboys. Don't act like y'all don't know the Cowboys.
Two running backs.
If they drafted Phil Maffa and Jaden Blue, why would they trade for Breece Hall? Like, why would they do that? They're not doing that. That's just fun stuff to talk about. Let's talk realistically with the Cowboys. They're not doing those type of things. We could see why they did Pickens. They needed that. They don't need a running back. You needed a number 2 receiver. You didn't need a running back. So you don't think the Cowboys are going to do that? So I feel like they're done with that star.
Yep. I agree with that. I think that I'm with you. I think I said yesterday we should just bring Linville Joseph back, and maybe that's their plan. Like we're just gonna bring him back at camp because
they're not going to sign him right now.
Exactly, like it makes no sense. And Linville may not even want to go to camp. I mean, he'll be 36 years old, but he ain't going to camp. You know what I'm saying? So I think they can bring Linville back. I know people don't really know his name much, but Carlos Watkins is a good run defender. Now he's not a one tech, but who cares? He can stop the run. So I'm like, go ahead and bring those two back. They're cheap. They're not signed by anybody, and boom, there you go. And then you just can give Jay some snaps, just a couple snaps a game, just to get him acclimated. And then you'll be fine there. I do believe that. It's just all the question of will they, are they? But I think so. I think that Eberflus, Flus, he's gonna have to push for what he wants. Zimmer had to do that. When Zimmer said he said I needed more noses. So it's like Flus, if you want something, you're gonna have to put it out there in the public.
But I think they're gonna listen to them, Star. You know why? Because they are homegrown. Flus is a homegrown guy. You feel me? He is going to have more pulls than, let's say, well, I'm not even gonna say Zim because I felt like Zim had pull because he was in the program, but I just felt like he was a 1-year rental. So you know what I mean? It wasn't going to be a lot of capital put into him. Quinn, they hooked up Quinn, but that's because I feel like Quinn was the Legion of Boom, so they were going to do that. Where I feel like Flus, he been with the program. They wanted him to be the guy before he left, went to Indianapolis. So if Flus says, "Hey, y'all need to look and get me somebody," I think they're going to listen. I feel like if Schottenheimer says, y'all need to get me somebody, they're going to listen. I believe that. I don't feel like they're going to go, nah, we ain't doing that. I feel like they will listen. But once again, it's how much do they want to spend? The Cowboys, they don't like to get in wars and stuff like that, but I don't think that's dry now. So it is what it is.
Exactly. I'm with you. And I think, I kind of got on screen, will Mazi take a 3rd-year leap? And I'm with you. I believe that if Mazi's going to be that breakout, that player that we thought he was going to be, it should show this year. And now he may not be, he may not be a Pro Bowler or something like that, but we're just talking about doing your job and dominating and being good at your job. You know what I'm saying? I think of you can think of somebody like a Brady Jarrett, or you could think of somebody like the guy he tore our asses, Aleem McNeil. You know what I'm saying? If Mozzie's just Aleem McNeil, that to me is great because we see how Aleem McNeil made that jump. So I think, dominating Zach Martin. Now, granted, Zach Martin was hurt, but he did dominate him. That got him a huge bag. They literally paid him the week after he dominated Zach Martin. They paid him. So it's like if Mozzie can become that, that would be great. And I think that if he's going to do it, we should see it this year. I will say that you've seen steady improvement, but it's like Mozzie, now that we're saying you are our nose tackle, you're the guy, you have to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? And to take the words out of our leader Micah's mouth, he has to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? He always says that. He's like, well, Mozzie has to be the guy. Like it's not like, oh, is he or maybe. It's like he has to. And I think that, the attack front that he's in under Aaron Whitecott and Flus, I do think that Mozzie should flourish in this game because we saw when them made those adjustments, when he's like, how about y'all get upfield and stop just holding up blocks? That's where we started seeing the deep tackles play better. So hopefully in this new scheme, Mozzie is able to really trend up. He's had steady improvement, but we want to see him be more dominant really in that middle. Because we know if we can be dominant in that middle with Mozzie, we can get pressure and collapse in the pocket and all that type of stuff. That is going to help us win big and key games. Because that's one of those gaps your quarterback can escape. They can escape. They tackle get nasty because you can step up in the pocket and kind of evade. But when pressure's just coming at you through those gaps, that's when it makes it really hard. So I'm hoping, that Mozzie takes that third year leap because and then I think
I don't know. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I feel like if it doesn't happen this year, it's over. The experiment is over if it doesn't happen this year. But I haven't heard encouraging words about Mozzie coming out of minicamp, TAs or minicamp. I heard none of that. Even when I heard the Doomsday podcast, and they were asking about Mozzie, he was like, Mozzie's getting there. I ain't hear. Yeah, Mozzie's looking good. When they talked about Shotty and he said Donovan Araziku, he said he's really, 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 really. If he's feeling somebody, he gonna say it. I ain't heard him say nothing about no Mozzie. So, we'll see. But I just don't believe it. If he did take that leap, this defense would be so much better because guess what? We know what Osa's going to bring to the table. We know what he's going to bring to the table, and this defense is going to help him. We know what Mike is going to bring to the table. You brought Dante Fowler back. We know he's going to bring to the table. I feel like a Razaku is going to really show. Then you got the other edge guy, Sam Williams. I feel like he's going to have a really good season because he need to get a contract. You feel what I'm saying? A linebacking core is going to be better. Yes, we got to see what the secondary is looking like, but that front seven that we want, that is the main thing that for Eberflus's defense to be good is that front seven.
Yep.
When you look at the front seven, it's not a bad front seven, but Mozzie is the key.
Yep.
Mozzie takes that leap now, dog. Now that middle is solidified.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got edges. We need that middle solidified. He can do that, but I just feel like we'll see. You can't out strong everybody. You can't out. You got to get better technique. I love this White Cotton. I love White Cotton. I got to watch that last video of him really training those guys. I really love what he can bring to the table. So if he can unlock Mozzie, because he really did a great job over there at that Jets defensive line.
And made Williams all pro.
If White Cotton can't unlock you, move on. It's over.
I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not fighting today. I agree with that. And I like Mozzie. I love Mozzie. I think he's a good player. But, obviously, you got to break out. Because if not, you're going to be gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, just go move on and find somebody else.
Ain't no year 4. It's over.
Mozzie, you kind of got lucky because we were going to draft Alfred Collins.
Right.
We were going to draft.
They were drafting Alfred Collins.
And that was going to put a lot of pressure on myself.
A lot of pressure. You got lucky because Alfred Collins was being drafted in that third round. I called that one star. I ain't gonna lie, because I was on the Alfred Collins train, and once they had talked to him at the combine, and then when they brought him in for the 30-30, I was like, they're drafting him. I was like, they're gonna draft him in that third round. The Niners took him the pick before Dallas. The pick before. I feel like that was on purpose. I feel like that was intentional. I feel like that was intentional.
I hate the Green Niners because they
Niners hate us, and they know we need a defensive tackle, and they needed some defense too. Yeah, we know you need him. Scoop him. That's why
he, bro. We would have.
He would have been our starter.
Yeah, that's what we would have needed to really. But
that was 6'6", 332.
Yeah, that Alfred Collins was a Eberflus scheme fit guarantee. Yeah. So we were going to get him. You know, Cowboys should have just been a little bit more aggressive. We might have got him. But I think, you know, personally we do gotta hop off. We're gonna talk about surprise cuts, but we can talk about that next week or whenever. Mm-hmm. But we got a few weeks before training camp anyway. But we appreciate everybody rocking with us in the chat today. We did like a little quick show. You know, y'all, we usually try to do an hour, 45 minutes at least, but I got to get off.
Computer suck.
Big's computer messed up, and then I also got to get off now because I got something to do. But we really love y'all and appreciate all y'all support of the Big Star Show. Before we leave, please like the video. On both of our channels, please subscribe if you haven't already to our YouTube channels. Mine is Stargazer Sports. Big is Big Game James. And yeah, we really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with us, and we hope to see y'all next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Peace. I'll see you.